blockchain wave in 2019 and beyond. This year is really an interesting year for the blockchain because I'll show you in the next slides that the blockchain is going through stages. It was an idea, it was a solution for a problem many of the current system are facing, which is centralization and single point of failure. And in 2009, this researcher, he proposed a solution where we can get rid of these intermediaries, and we have peer-to-peer communications. You can have your stuff going back and forth between you and between whoever you are interested in. The whole idea will be clear once we go through some of the technical details. But when we talk about, this is some information about me here so before we can start. I started working on blockchain as a progress going from the Internet of Things to a blockchain. Internet of Things, the IoT, suffering from a major problem, which is security, because Internet of Things is everything around you. There is a show coming very soon in Las Vegas, which is the Consumer Electronics Show 2019, which is one of the biggest tech shows in the world. I'm talking thousands and thousands of companies will offer their future products. And one of the major things here in the show was something called VUI, which is Voice User Interface. We are familiar with the GUI, which is the Graphical User Interface. Now everything is, if you have Alexa, if you have your iPhone, you have Siri, so you talk to it. Same thing going to happen. Now this evolved to the case of everything around us will be sensing, moving, and reacting. Amazon did the same thing. They are trying to connect most of the appliances we have here in the house to Alexa, so we can just order Alexa and even a microwave. They offer a microwave for $65 that can start and finish and do everything for you by voice through Alexa. But anyway, I don't want to divert too far from whatever we're going to talk about it today, but I'm trying to prove the point that now there is a security issue. And this is why blockchain came to the picture. And a lot of companies are thinking about it. One of the biggest conceptions or misconceptions about blockchain is the Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency. And the reason for this, it started with the cryptocurrency. People knew about blockchain through the cryptocurrencies, the Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin went through a crazy, ride from a few $1,000s to $21,000 the end of 2017 to $3,000 and $700 this week. Now I have this slide because this is very important to understand that if you sit in any C-level CEO, CFO, CTO meeting, you will find out that if somebody has a problem, they just gonna throw this word, blockchain, and it's a magical word. It's gonna solve their problems. But when you ask people what exactly is blockchain, there's a big problem because they don't understand it, or they understand it from one perspective, or they have the misconception about blockchain is connected to Bitcoin. So if you cannot explain it simply, you don't understand it. So keep this in mind. And I remember this statement when one of my students at University of Texas, Austin, he was doing his research on blockchain, and he contacted me the last minute. He said, listen, professor, I think there is a question, and this question, I'm sure somebody gonna ask me about it. I need your help with that. And the question was, how can I explain blockchain to a fifth grader? A fifth grader is somebody who's like, 11, 12 years old. When you hear this term, fifth grader, or explain it to fifth grader, it's a code name for somebody who has zero technical background. So I was telling my student, okay, you have two options. Number one is you can tell the fifth grader they don't have to worry about blockchain. It's not his or her business, or you can explain it to them in this scenario. You're sitting in your classroom, and somebody want to come and visit your class. In the current situation, the teacher will allow that person or say, no, you can't come in. And that's the centralized system we have now. If we are using the concept of blockchain, then we have to have an agreement of more than 51% of the students who are in the class who to allow that person to get in the class and sit in the class. So there will be some kind of agreement, and this is one of the powerful element of blockchain consensus, which is you bring people together so they can agree on one concept and compare notes, and then if everything is okay, then you process for the next move. The next slide is an interesting slide. It's an acronym or abbreviation talking about the hot trends of technologies in 2019, which is IBAC. The Internet of Things is the one they just explained to you, and the blockchain, which is we're going to talk about it today or tonight, and the artificial intelligence, and then you talk about cybersecurity and how they are really interacting together. One of the most important thing to know that they are really interacting. They are really there's a relationship among the four elements you see here. In some of the presentations that I'm giving from time to time, in the valley here, the question comes up like saying, okay, where's the jobs? What are the needs of the companies now? Now I just show them this slide. I tell them, listen, if you have expertise in one or more of the four trends here, you will be fine, because there's a lot of demand for people who knows IoT, people who know the blockchain, and of course the artificial intelligence, which is not a new concept at all. I mean, I remember, excuse me, in the 80s, the same thing. It was a big wave for artificial intelligence, and then it died, out. Why? Because we don't have that powerful computation as what we have now. And cybersecurity, you hear about breaches every time, data breaches, or there's no one day without somebody broke into the database of some big company and grab that information, and you find it on the dark web for sale or use it for other purposes. The LinkedIn, they issued, and I have friends in that company. They issued the job report, and blockchain developers is #1 emerging job in 2018. It's actually increased 33 times, so it's actually 33x from the year before. And that's an indication of how hot is the field. Many of the universities, and I'm going to talk about it, they're realizing that this is blockchain is really something they have to pay attention to. If I mean, I'm an advisor for 3 departments here at San Jose State: software engineering, computer engineering, and electrical engineering. So when the student comes to me and asks me about, okay, where and how and what should I do so I can make myself marketable when I finish my degree, I have enough skills so I can find a good job, and all those big names you hear about them, which is Google, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of them, they are about 30 minutes from where I'm talking to you here. So it's the Silicon Valley, where if you are in the 3 fields I just mentioned, getting a job is not going to be a difficult thing if you have the skills. So, but what is the blockchain developer? That's the next question, and this is something hopefully we can discuss tonight. In 2000, everybody was talking about the web strategist, which is how to, the .com, how to design the web developers and how to have your e-commerce. And then in 2008, we have the social media expert, we have the search engine optimization, we still have them now, but they're not hot jobs as before. And now we're talking about the initial coin offering, which is the cryptocurrency and the blockchain. This presentation, or this cartoon here, is actually touching the area of when you talk about something and you have no idea what is that one, this is what you get yourself on. So you just keep talking about blockchain, and then we'll ask you what's exactly blockchain. You're going to go to the different item here. I don't want anybody to be in that position, because if you don't understand it, don't talk about it. Educate yourself. We are in the age of Google, where you can, while I'm talking to you, you can Google the terms and have a quick answer for your questions. This is, let me just move this one here. So this is just a snapshot about the companies that are, the universities that are teaching blockchain. From UC Berkeley to Harvard to Stanford, and I teach at Stanford. I teach a class which is Introduction to Blockchain Technology and Applications. And also the MIT is big on this because they have their lab and they have their own their format for blockchain. So the big names, the big schools, they realize this and they are introducing classes, and some of them, I think 4 universities, they have a degree in blockchain. So you graduated with a degree in blockchain. And at San Jose State, I'm teaching also this term. I'm going to start teaching a class in blockchain. I mean, they're catching up with this. It took me a while to, just explain it and present it to the committee so they can realize that how that is important for the student to have blockchain keyword in their resume. Okay, so obstacles. Which technology categories do you find difficult to understand? It's a blockchain, about 55%. When they ask some of the decision makers, they ask them about it, what, 401 small and medium business owners. I mean, they say, well, we hear about it, we have no idea what is that. And then they're talking about AR and VR and talking about automated lead scorings and AI, so which is understandable if you are not a programmer and you're not a data scientist. That's okay. But the blockchain is the biggest one. They hear about it, they're excited about it, but they don't know what is that. This slide is very important, and I hope that the Udacity will make the PowerPoint available for the students after we, okay, good. So I can send you a PDF, or you already have it, so you'll be okay. So you can please share it with the student after we finish. There are two axes here. One of them, which is the time axis, which you see that, and also the business impact. The blockchain, if you can see it on the screen, it's in this area, which is, we're talking about 2019, 2020. It will have a big impact on the business. And when I'm teaching I used to teach that one, 2 or 3 years ago at Purdue University. The technology infrastructure, or the introduction to cloud computing. One big thing, and I hope you finish this presentation and this sticks in your mind. You cannot separate the technology from the business. In the Silicon Valley, the line between the two is blurred. There's no line between them. If you think about companies like Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg is a programmer. He started at Harvard, and then he moved to the Silicon Valley here. He used to do the programming. Now he doesn't do that. He's actually running the business. So he evolved from being an engineer to be a business person. Same thing happened with the two founders of Google. The same thing. They used to do all the programming, to do all the technical work, at Stanford, and then now they are running the business. So when we talk about technology and then we study the impact of technology in business, that is part of the big picture. What's in it for me? What kind of impact this technology will have on the business? And let me share with the crowd here, a framework. I always use that framework when I'm trying to explain the emerging trends. Every emerging trend will go through 3 lenses or 3 filters. The first one is the technology. The second one is the business. The third one is the society. So the first one, technology. Do we have the technology? Is the technology available? If you pass that test or that filter, you go to the business. What's in it for me? Why people will invest there? If there is money there, you go to the society. If there's any acceptance by the society. Example of that one is Google Glasses. Google Glasses technology is okay. Business is not bad. The society rejected that. Nobody want to sit in front of somebody who's wearing Google Glasses and checking what you're doing while you're talking to him or talking to her. And that's what the blockchain is going through. They're trying now to get to the second filter here. An interesting slide which shows the overlapping of the technologies in general, the blockchain, how the blockchain is interacting with the different trends from digital transformation, smart contracts, the robotic process automation, to Internet of Things, AI, and advanced analytics. And if you spend some time, and the presentation is going to be the right place and time for that, just sit down and look at this slide and try to understand how the blockchain is bringing different technologies together so it can achieve its purpose. Who's investing in blockchain? I mean, personally, I know so many people here, venture capitalists, who are really putting their money in blockchain because they believe that's going to be the future. The biggest place for investment in blockchain startups is the San Francisco Bay Area. And then you can move to New York City, which is, I understand, because this is the financial capital here. And then you can move to Europe and to Asia, and you will see how people are really putting their money in this kind of technology to so they're not going to miss the boat. The blockchain attraction is the applications. If there is an application, people will understand it. Beside the Bitcoin, beside the Ethereum, beside the Ripple, beside the different platforms we talk about. How blockchain is developed? It's developed from in 2009 when Satoshi Nakamoto had that famous paper. And if you have time, read that paper. I mean, it's a little bit technical, but please go ahead and search it on the net, search his name, and you will find that paper. It's about 12 pages. It's an IEEE format paper, so it has some kind of equations, but it's very telling. It's going to tell you the whole purpose of the blockchain. Now, in the 2009 that is the real starting attention for the Bitcoin and for the algorithm of consensus and decentralized ledgers and all these terms. But the blockchain technology itself, or the concept, it's very old. It's in 1990. I remember we were talking about distributed computing, which is not new. Many people my age heard about this before many times. But how to apply it in this new age and in this new with this new technology, it was the fascinating part here. And then you can advance with the timeline until you get to 2017, 2016 to the applications. And this is a natural progression for any technology. Technology is good if there is a killer application. And if you have that killer application, it's going to be in the market, and that's going to go through the second filter, which is the business. And the killer application will convince the consumers so they can buy the product and use the product. So that emerging technology become a real business. Yesterday, I received this diagram, which I'm sure that's not in the original one. I sent it to you guys, but this is the life cycle, which is if you study marketing, there's something called product life cycle, and the product life cycle goes through 4 stages, whether it's pioneering or introduction, and then you go growth, maturity, and decline. Where is blockchain and the life cycle stages? It is entering the growth area. So we're still at the beginning. So that's going to take a while for it to go to the maturity where there's no advancement here, and then the decline eventually will come. So this will give you an idea about where is the technology, where is the jobs, where it stands as we speak. The adoption of the blockchain or the maturity of the blockchain technology is the same thing. 2019 to 2025 or 2023 are really the golden years for this technology. So whoever start looking at blockchain in 2018 and 2019, he or she is catching up with the rising wave. And I say this one to all my students: if you come to my office and you're going to see that I have a flyer, and that flyer is the first thing the student will see, which is don't leave university without 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one of them is knowing what is a blockchain. The concept of blockchain evolved from the centralization single point of failure, which is the current system we have. You have a security guard on the building, and that security guard, you can fool that security guard, you can bribe him, you can talk to that security guard, you can get in the building, and after that you're done. You can do whatever you want. This is the current system we have. And now it's went to decentralization, which is the idea of blockchain, until we get to the distributed network, which is the heart of the blockchain. Problems with the blockchain, and I spend a lot of time talking about this because sometimes you know how good is the technology by counting how many problems this technology have or will face. And I'm not going to go over all of them here. I'm going to try to pick and choose. Some of them are really important. Yesterday, I have a discussion with one of the professors at San Jose State, and he was trying to understand the technology and he read a lot about it, and he came to me and asked me, okay, listen, is blockchain just encryption? Well, I told him, no, it's not just encryption. Encryption is just one element of this one. You're talking about SHA 256 encryption, which is a very powerful encryption, but this is just one side of the story. He said, but it is encryption. I told him it is more than encryption. And now I explained to him that it's more about distributed, agreement of the different part, 51%, a problem. And then I told him that blockchain has few problems. If we can solve them, then this technology will be deployed everywhere. Number one is the processing time. The processing time for any kind of transaction on blockchain, in average, is about 2 minutes, and some of those transactions will take about 10 minutes. That's not acceptable. If you have your credit card and you go there to any place and you try to run your credit card, it's about the average is about 3 seconds for Visa or MasterCard to process your transaction. Nobody will wait for 2 minutes, if not more, to process that. That's not practical. So they have a processing time problem. The second one, they have the scalability problem, which means how can I scale the technology so it will be at the enterprise level? IBM is trying to solve that with something called Hyperledger. They have a team of 1,000 engineers working on this, so it's going to be a solution given to the different companies. All what you're going to do, just scale it up like the AWS, like the Amazon Web Services, where you just order instances and then with specification, and you can just go and scale it to thousands and thousands of machines. And the power consumption. Because in order for you to sync all the nodes you have, in order for you to process all the information, that takes, power. And we're talking about thousands and thousands of nodes that will have the same records, and they have to sync together, and they have to confirm the transaction, and that's a problem. So if they can solve those three problems, the technology will be in a better shape. Now, there is a side product of the whole story about the blockchain. Any technology can be used for good and can be used for bad. And if you look at the diagram I have here, is something called the criminal connection or the criminal conception. Many of the data breaches, something called the ransomware, which is a well-known technique in cybersecurity. And the ransomware is I take over your computers, I take over your files, and I will not let go or give you the decryption, code or key until you pay me. In the past, you have to pay by wiring or by having this elaborate technique so you can receive the cash. Now they use it with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrency. And once you have it in cryptocurrency and it's in my wallet, in my virtual wallet, nobody can touch it unless they know my private key. So they're using this technology so they can achieve some of their purposes here. And you can read the list of the challenges facing blockchain. The last one I want to talk about in the challenges is why we are here, because there is a lack of skilled people who understand blockchain. The more people who know about it, it's easy for the technology to be deployed everywhere. So we have a lack of skills, or lack of staff, lack of engineers, developers who can program it, who can maintain it, who can expand it, or create applications or app to make it more visible, or to make it more marketable, so people can use it. I was at Microsoft. They have their facilities here in the Silicon Valley, and they have this big convention, and they have this big conference about blockchain in education, and I was invited with the rest of the team, And I remember that lady, she was asking a question. It was really a very good question. She was saying, okay, how can we make sure or guarantee the integrity of the data when we receive it? And how can we do the same thing when we are feeding this information into the blockchain? Because the concept of blockchain, it's a software, it's a process, and if you have it as a process, there is a a term in statistics, which is, we study statistics, something called garbage in, garbage out. So, and this is the same thing goes with blockchain. I mean, the blockchain will write, encrypt, decrypt, process the data. We're gonna give it to them. Now, how good is this data? How valid is data? How, that's up to us, and this is called the first mile. So if you feed it with the data which is wrong, then it's gonna process it. There's no intelligence here. It's not gonna say, no, this number should be 5 instead of 3. Same thing with the last mile. When they receive it, when the end, they receive whatever you fed them at the beginning. So this we have to keep this in mind. The blockchain will process whatever you give them. If I want to send money to somebody, then $2,000 is $2,000. It's not going to say, oh, this is too much, don't send him $2,000, send him $1,500. There is no decision here. It's the human decision at the beginning, and also it is the human decision at the end. With this in mind, it's very easy for us to understand that we're not going to let go and give everything to the blockchain, and its blockchain somehow will make our life wonderful. And blockchain does not live in its own universe. It's actually interacting with the other new technologies, which is cloud, artificial intelligence, and so on. If I will pick one technology that will have a big impact on everything in our life 5 years from now, that's going to be quantum computing. Quantum computing will change everything we talk about it, whether it's cloud, whether it is blockchain, whether it's artificial intelligence. It's going to speed up the process for us. You're talking about not 0 and 1, you're talking about 4 cases. If you have time, and you guys are students, spend some time reading about quantum computing. It's not a topic that easily can be grasped or understood, but if you have multiple resources, just educate yourself about it, because 5 years from now we're going to hear about the quantum computing as the next technology. With quantum computing, you can actually break blockchain, because it's all about remining or mining the data and replacing the information with the new information. Now with the available processing, and remember I talk about the power consumption, I talk about the processing time, all this can be solved by quantum computing. So quantum computing it's a distance technology. We've been talking about it for many years. I know about 2 companies, and 1 company and 1 organization that working on, and they have a working model for quantum computing, and it's in the size of this room. One of them is Google, and the other one is NASA. And they don't talk about it. They don't even mention how, the use of it. They don't even open it to the public. I know this one from a friend who work at Google, who they have their secretive lab, which is called X Lab, whatever the name of it. They mentioned to me this is what they're working on it. So the quantum computing could change everything we talk about, whether artificial intelligence, blockchain, cybersecurity, cloud. It's going to elevate the speed, elevate the processing. How can I make a decision about whether blockchain is really something I should use or not? And this is good for the business people. This is good for if you're sitting with somebody and you're trying to find out if blockchain will help that person or not. There's certain questions. I'm not going to go through the list because it's going to be it's going to take a long time. But you're more than welcome to look at the questions here. You need a shared or common database. If yes, just go to the next step. If no, then go to the blockchain, and that's going to help you to make the decision. What is interesting is the last 2 boxes. You see them at the bottom after step number 7. And I'm going to talk about the different types and forms of blockchain. There's a public one, and there is a permissioned one, which is the private one. And there's a federated one. There's a hybrid blockchain. All of these different kinds of form based on the application. The public blockchain is like the Bitcoin, the Ethereum. That's the example of it. Private one is something, a blockchain network that created by a company and has limited number of nodes, and you have to have a permission to get to be a node. For the public blockchain, any one of us can do this one. All what you're gonna do, just go to the Ethereum website and download, the app, and you will be part of the network. And the hybrid is, you can understand it's the best of both worlds. The engagement of blockchain in 2018 is mostly with the banking. Talk about the banking, and then you're talking about the communications. The education is very limited here. A fascinating fact about the patents for the blockchain: until August of last year, 2018, Bank of America was #1. Now we have Alibaba, the big e-commerce Chinese company. They're #1 when it comes to the patents for the blockchain. And it was really interesting to see that a bank will have the leading number for the blockchain patents. And the banks, they don't want to miss the boat here. They want to make sure that they have a say in this new technology, because the whole purpose of the blockchain is to get rid of the banks. So you can send and receive money. You can without anybody in the middle who will process that for you and take some a fee for it. Saying this one, I think I was talking to somebody at Facebook, and Facebook is testing this technology by having something called SafeCoin. And SafeCoin is not like the Bitcoin, which is under the mercy of the demand and supply. This has a fixed value. It's a cryptocurrency. People can use it in WhatsApp, and WhatsApp outside the United States is very big. It's huge, and they use it not just for communication. They use it for business. They use it for so many things. So now they're going to say, okay, instead of people sending the currency, why don't we have a cryptocurrency issued by Facebook, and it is one coin for $1, so we can also have some fees from this kind of processing. And they're still working on that. And if you ask the people at Facebook, they're not gonna give you an answer about it. Any technical person, anybody who has a background in networking, he or she will ask me this question. Okay, so what is the stack of the blockchain technology? Which is the different layers for the technology? And we use this terminology when we're talking way in the 80s. We're talking about the OSI model. The OSI model, which is 7 layers, from the applications to the presentation all the way to the physical layer. And it makes sense to me when I look at the stack, because even when I'm dealing with my students and their senior project, the first thing I ask them, okay, you have to go as a group and sit down and have the stack of your project. What kind of application you're going to use, what kind of services you're going to provide, what kind of protocols, and what kind of hardware and software, infrastructure, network. And that's going to make it much easier for you to focus on each one of them and see the significance of each layer here. This is exactly the same thing for the blockchain technology. The stack of blockchain technology, as you can see it on the screen, is very clear about it. Okay, so how can you do the mining for the infrastructure, and how can you go for the networking, and then you process this one to the protocols used with the blockchain services and optional components, until you talk about the application, like the DAB application, browsers, or the DAB applications, which is the distributed application, decentralized applications. At the end of the presentation, I'm going to talk about some of the applications of blockchain. This is a good list of the risks. One of them is the 51%. And that goes back to your ability to change the mind of 51% or more, and with the new information. And the whole thing about it can be done by quantum computing. If somebody stole your private key, and MIT, they have a test network. And I'll be more than happy to share with you the information about that, if you guys are interested, where you can see what is a private key, what is a public key, and you can actually attach yourself as from the point of test, which is not going to change anything in the network. You're going to be part of a blockchain network that created by MIT. and you can create your own cryptocurrency. I did, and I have my colleagues laughing at me because I created a million Banafa coin and nobody want to buy it. It's still sitting in my wallet there. And then also the problem with the criminal activities, double spending, that's another big problem, which is the timing of the decisions. You don't want to, you don't want to go to the ATM and two people at the same time getting the same money from the same account. The system does not talk to each other, and each one of them will give you the same amount. And transaction privacy, criminal smart contract, and the rest of it will be clear here. I wrote a book about the three technologies, which is, I believe, that really part of the big revolution here in the Silicon Valley, and it's on Amazon here. It's about the Internet of Things, and then how the blockchain will make the Internet of Things as secure, and the artificial intelligence will make the Internet of Things smart. And it's chapters, and it's not a big book, and it's written not as a textbook. It's written for the executives, for the C-level, for the salespeople, for the lawyers, for the people who have a little technical background, and they can push it and understand the concept, so they can go to the next level if they would like to go and have a technical understanding of that. This diagram is really fascinating, because it's exactly what I just talked about in my book, which is what is the interaction between the Internet of Things, blockchain, and artificial intelligence. And you can see here at the bottom, you see where the blockchain will help secure the data between the sensors to the network, and then within the platform to the applications. And then you can see where the artificial intelligence is really used in the cloud. When you are processing, when you are making decisions, this is where the artificial intelligence will play. Looking at this will give you an idea about, okay, how the three technologies are interacting with each other, how they're helping each other. And it's going to be easy. Why? Because there's the name of the technology, the Wi-Fi, the LoRa, the Zigbee, all of these technologies, which is a well-known, or the Bluetooth, all these technologies are well-known technologies. So this is how the blockchain, this is how the artificial intelligence will help in the big picture of the Internet of Things. Okay, we're getting close to the end. What's the time now? Okay, close to the end of the presentation. There is no way for you to understand the blockchain technology movement or wave unless you understand that there are actually three tracks for the blockchain. Those three tracks is the pure R&D track, and I'm going to talk about it in a second, the immediate business benefit track, the long-term transformational potential track. The first one is the pure R&D, is what we do at the university when you do the research or the R&D of the companies. It's exactly what happened with it. People are doing the research, trying to improve it, trying to find new techniques, trying to solve the problems of the blockchain, so it will be much better, developable blockchain-based systems, investigation and learning, and so they can have the technology much better for the real world. The second one is the immediate business benefit track. This track covers two bases. The first one is learning how to work with this promising technology. Number two is delivering an actual system. So first of all, educate, understand, and then apply. So, and this is for the businesses. That's what the businesses is doing as their intra company. They do it within their own territories. So they can understand it and how that's gonna fit with their strategic planning or with their products. How can we, for example, have our product and say it is blockchain ready? If the blockchain has become like a big technology in the market, or the government is forcing us to use the blockchain, and there is a big move here by the U.S. government. So some of the records has to use the blockchain. Walmart. Walmart, one of the biggest retailers in the world, there is no way for you to do business with them unless you are using blockchain. They made this one clear. They say in 2019, if you're a vendor, and they are one of the biggest, vendors here in the United States. If you've been in the United States, if you heard about Walmart, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This retailer has billions and billions of dollars. They say blockchain or no business. The long-term transformational potential track, this is for the investors, the people who are the venture capitalists who are looking at the future. Track of the visionaries, it's people who see, okay, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, this is where we want to invest our money. This is where we see the technology is going. So realize the true value of the blockchain-based network, reinventing the entire process, the industry. A lot of things has to be changed. The encryption techniques, the businesses, how they interact with it. So like the example I just mentioned about Walmart, that's a big example about it, to showing you why it's very important to be ready for it. How would you create my understanding that you guys have, you're doing some kind of work on this. Any programming language will do it. Any programming language will do that. Whether it's the C++ was the one that used to create the Bitcoin, and then you have Python, you have JavaScript, you have the programming language of Ethereum, the Solidity, which is the one that used for smart contracts. You have Java. If you're comfortable with that language, just understand the steps, and then you can create your own blockchain. If you're dealing with Ethereum, then use their own programming language, which is a very easy one. It's not difficult. Actually, there are templates on their websites where you can go and create your own smart contracts and understand how it's really interacting with the wallet, how it's interacting with the blocks. It's with a little time and efforts, it's not going to be difficult. One application here is the MIT. And I'm talking about MIT a lot because I worked with some people at MIT in their digital transformation project. 2 professors, they're great professors. And one of the things that MIT is doing is issuing their certificate, their degree, their diploma using blockchain. So you have the paper one, which is you can frame it and you can have it in your office. And there is one which is when you go for an interview, they don't have to go and check your transcript by going to the website of the school or requesting a sealed copy of it. You just show them the app and they are part of the MIT blockchain network. They verify the degree and you're done with it. If you lose your phone, then they issue you another one. They just kill that barcode you have in that app and you're done. So that's could be one of those things that will simplify the process. And think, have this line of thinking or this framework, and you understand this could be done in many, not just the degree, you can done with everything you think about it for identity management, for the verifications of documents, and for issuing any kind of a government paper. Then you apply the same concept as MIT, then the blockchain will help. NASA is using a blockchain to verify the communication between the satellites and the ground stations. And the communication is not complicated as the content. The content is very simple, either images or certain commands. It's just all the encryptions around it and all the protection they have, because they don't want somebody to take control of the satellite systems and then it's over for them. And somebody can control a satellite going right or left. That's not going to fly. So they use the blockchain. They have a project about it, and they funded so many of the universities so they can come up with the best model here. And this is a fascinating thing to see. Not university, companies. I mean, I'm sure that you recognize some of the names we have here: the Facebook and Google and Apple. All of these companies, they have applications, enterprise, which is actually adopting or using the blockchain at certain levels. And some of them are really clear to us, and they tell us about it. Some of them don't even mention this one. It's part of their research. Whether it's a data integrity, data protection, e-commerce, supply chain, healthcare, all of these things will be part of the company. So with the slide here on the presentation, you can look at it later, and then you can read what each one of the companies are exploring. And also the wheel of opportunities. You're talking about developers, quality engineers. This is for you if you're looking for, to see, okay, I'm a blockchain developer. What does that mean? Designer, technical recruiter, research, all these things. As you have this background in blockchain, it's going to help you in any one of the careers here. And then the future of the smart contract. The smart contract is a very fascinating concept. It's the development that made Ethereum as outstanding, and people are really paying attention to it. And if you want to know how Ethereum start, you will be really, really surprised. The founder of Ethereum, he's an online gamer, a heavy one. You're talking about somebody who spent days just playing, and if you played any games online, you have assets, you have reward, you have things that you won. The World of Warcraft, for example, it's a lot of people playing that, or the Call of Duty, all these things. So you gain and you win those assets. One day the company of the World of Warcraft, they decided to upgrade their servers, and he lost everything. And he was really devastated by this, whether you agree with him or not, but he spent years playing that game. And then he said, okay, so it's my assets, but those people can take it, can really wipe it out, and I don't have it. Why I cannot have it mine? If I own that one, if I want it, I own it. And he's a good programmer. He's an excellent programmer. He started thinking about, okay, we have to get rid of this centralized thing, this servers thing in the middle, and the gamers can play with each other, one in peer-to-peer. And that was the starting point for the Ethereum. Now it became $1 billion, companies there. Okay, I'm done with my presentation, and this is my contact points here. You can join me at LinkedIn. I have 31,000 followers, or you can email me if you have any questions over there at San Jose State or at Stanford, or you can follow me at Twitter. I'll be more than happy to help you. Any questions about this technology, any question about the about the coming technology, I'd be more than happy to help and assist.